Welcome to the first episode in a brand new series, where I travel the world building LEGO modes of transport, in, on or at their real life counterparts.
Number 1.
First up, I'm at Santapod Raceway where I'm going to be having a ride in one of these. Yeah, I am absolutely terrified. This is a drag car, specifically the Top Fuel dragster, driven by Suzanne, who then went on to win the entire championship. But I'm going to be riding in this one, and of course I had to first build it out of LEGO. I used the official Speed Champion set as a starting point, then heavily modified it to look like the one I'd be riding. It's going to go in a dead straight line for about 8 seconds, before deploying a parachute to slow down and stop. And as the time grew closer, I grew increasingly terrified. Currently lasts about 8 seconds, it's going to be really fast, then not feel fast, and then just suddenly stop. I suited up in a fireproof suit. Then there was no turning back as I was strapped firmly in the passenger seat. And after some final safety checks and a handshake for luck, the moment had arrived. I might have left my stomach on the start line, but holy moly, that was incredible. About 5 times as intense as any roller coaster I've ever been on.
How's that?
That was really, I was expecting to be terrified, but that was really fun. Thank you. So I've got a t-shirt, a certificate and a timesheet. So it went up to 166 miles an hour in just over 8 seconds. That was honestly incredible. I also did a meet and greet here and met so many of you. The whole weekend was unbelievably fun. Thanks to every single person who came and made it so special. And thanks to driver Paul, Baron and the safety team, Caroline, Jamie and everyone at Santapod, Gary for making this happen, and Dan, Georgia, Finley, Little James and Jane for running the stall and making sure everything went smoothly.
Number 2.
Next, I'm in India to build a tuk-tuk on a tuk-tuk. Now let me tell you, riding a tuk-tuk around the streets of Delhi is not for the faint of heart. In fact, I'm not sure what was scarier, this or the drag car. I brought a tray to make the build easier, but it was still very bumpy and treacherous. The roads here are pretty lawless, but the experience was one I'll never forget. And the best part, I even got to drive it.
It's a clutch, okay? And those are the gear. And no, don't go forward.
I think I terrified him. Either way, it was a ton of fun, and the set was incredible. Our driver Prakash seemed to enjoy himself too.
Number 3.
For number 3, I'm in Iceland, where Georgia and I were going on a very important business road trip. The scenery was stunning. Even the towns we passed through were beautiful. The goal was to drive along Iceland's south coast to see its waterfalls and beaches, whilst making it back to Reykjavik before nightfall. Oh, and to build the car out of LEGO, of course.
I am literally just sliding down the hill right now.
First we stopped at a small waterfall, and in places it was completely frozen. Then we found a larger one, majestically cascading from a cliff, and the mist it created had turned the ground to ice. I was glad to be back in the warmth of the car, and use the opportunity to build the LEGO. It's not an official set. I bought the instructions online and sourced the pieces myself, as well as recolouring it to match and making some slight alterations. Regardless, it looked incredibly cool. I really love getting these side-by-side shots, with the real vehicle and its miniature LEGO counterpart. Soon we'd arrived at the big waterfall, the name of which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, then finally made it to the iconic black sand beach, with rock formations that looked like they belonged on an alien planet. It was my turn to take the wheel on the journey back, and needless to say we didn't make it home in the light, but when we eventually did, were greeted by the Northern Lights.
Number 4.
We're still in Iceland for this next one, a Volcano helicopter aboard a Volcano helicopter. This was actually my first time in a helicopter. I filmed this before the Grand Canyon video, and it was slightly nerve-wracking to begin with, but ended up being completely fine. Anyway, we left the city behind and flew over the coast until all we could see was snow. Now I might be wrong, but I believe this is a volcano. I think pretty much everything in Iceland is a volcano, albeit one entirely covered in snow. And the cool part? We were coming in to land on it. This has seriously got to be one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life. It was -6, and so windy the blades were spinning themselves, and I had to have one of my hands out to film this, but it was definitely worth getting cold for. We then took off again and flew over a frozen lake, as well as some glaciers, although they were both again entirely blanketed in white. We could, however, make out the fault line between Europe and North America, as well as our next landing site, a geothermal spring. 2/3 of the country's power comes from geothermal energy, and it has over 600 geothermal springs like these. But I'm rambling. We flew back to the city and in the morning went out on a boat ride with the intention of building that out of Lego too. It was so cold my fingers felt like they'd fall off, however, but we did manage to spot a humpback whale. It is freezing.
So cold.
This is so good.
Number 5.
2 years ago, I built a plane on a plane. It got me loads of weird looks, so I thought I'd do it again, but with a much larger plane. I also booked a much larger seat, and it's my first time flying like this, so I was amazed by everything. I didn't want to talk aloud and disturb the other passengers, but I had a huge fold-out table, a compartment with loads of gadgets, a second compartment, a third compartment with toiletries, water and a mirror, a reading light, a cool control panel, and near infinite legroom. But the best part is that the chair reclined fully horizontally. I couldn't wait to sleep later. Anyway, after breakfast, I got to work building. The extra space proved essential. I literally couldn't have built a set this size in a normal seat. And how cool is this? Building a plane on a plane 37,000 feet above planet Earth. I was having so much fun I didn't want it to end, but soon it was time to add the pilots and attach the nose. It was finished, much to the amusement of the cabin crew. I let it sit there for an hour, reveling in the novelty of what I'd just done, before I sadly had to dismantle it again. But we can go bigger. Well, later in the video. For now, it was time to get some sleep. I'm completely lying down on a plane. Wow. And a few hours later, we landed in New York City.
Number 6.
Now in New York, I built everything from the Empire State Building to the Statue of Liberty, and made a whole video about it. But I also built a subway train, a 21-year-old Spider-Man set I had to have imported that was used, boxless and missing pieces. But literally as I was in New York, LEGO announced a new version releasing that summer. Well, now it's been released, so I'm going to build 3 of them to add to my ceiling railway. I motorised the middle carriage and added 2 normal carriages on either side. It's kind of weird seeing a subway go around the ceiling, but that is really cool. It's been a while since I've had a train on here. Maybe I should extend it at some point.
Number 7.
Next I'm in London to build a different kind of underground railway, the mail rail. You see, from 1927 to 2003, the post office used tiny underground trains to transport letters across London as a way of beating the traffic, and it's now open to the public so they can pretend they're tiny letters and write in it themselves. This is very cozy. How you doing, Dad? Look how close we are. George is behind. How you doing? Comfy. We're going.
We ask all passengers to remain seated.
One thing I didn't expect that is kind of really obvious is just how small the tunnels would be. Little larger than the trains themselves. But anyway, I designed the LEGO version myself and built it whilst riding. The lighting was somewhat sporadic, so it took a while to actually build. But I used roller coaster carts for the carriages, and I was delighted with how it turned out. Riding this was a wonderful experience. I'd recommend it to everyone. A peculiar peek into London's postal past.
Number 8.
I built a bike on a bike.
Number 9.
It's almost time for the big finale, but first I'm in the Egyptian desert with little James, who's like 7 foot tall, to build a quad bike on a quad bike. And how is this for a backdrop? I designed the set myself based on the exact ones we'd be riding, and captured it perfectly. I was genuinely really proud of it. Riding around with the pyramids in the background was honestly a top 10 experience. It doesn't get much better than this. Sometimes I have to pinch myself and remember that this is real life. That was exhilarating.
Number 10.
Last of all, I've come to Aerospace Bristol to build the LEGO Concorde beside a real one. This is where I'm building, and this is my view. The Concorde was a supersonic passenger jet, which literally flew faster than a bullet and over twice the speed of sound. Travelling from London to New York took a mere 3 hours, and despite this very Concorde being the last ever to fly way back in 2003, it somehow still looks like something from the future. So Finley and Georgia are now doing some building. It's really cool, we're all building different parts of it. So I built the wings, Finley's doing the fuselage, Georgia's doing the tail end, and Dan's done the nose and engines. We are very nearly finished. And building it this way means I can show you loads of cool comparisons. So these are the engines. This is the nose, and it even moves up and down like the real Concorde. These are the wheels, and the tail. It was very satisfying to then connect everything together. Well, almost everything. All I've got to do is put the tail on and it will be finished. But we're going to do that on the Concorde itself. Oh, this is narrow. This is very narrow. I'm putting the tail on the final piece to finish the LEGO Concorde on the real Concorde. There we go, it's done! Which means it's time for... That was fun. It took the four of us just under 2.5 hours to build, which means had we been building it on the real Concorde flying from London to New York, we would have managed to finish it before we landed. The Lego set was honestly incredible. I've had it since it was released, so it was amazing to finally build it. I had such a great time. Thanks so much to Aerospace Bristol. I'd like this video to be the first in a series, so if you know of or have access to any weird and wonderful vehicles, particularly ones I can ride in, I'd love for you to get in touch.